Okay, last topic before we head into the weekend, and I really need help with this one. Usually, I will give everybody my opinion on something and then ask for the feedback on it, but this one I really have no idea of. Is Ian Garry absolutely delusional, or does he have nerves of steel and is sort of a marketing genius? Because after his recent press conference, I have no idea where this kid's head's at. Look, there has been so much said about Ian Garry in the last 6 months. It's actually phenomenal, the fact that he can even show up to press conferences with a straight face and say the things that he is saying. It is insane. So has he got nerves of steel to be able to take all that back? Or is he some sort of like emotionless psychopath that can just turn it off and doesn't even realize how much of a hypocrite he is even being, how truly insane he sounds? We all know how Ian Garry treated Neil Magny, and maybe everyone doesn't know this yet, but he treated Neil Magny so badly and implied that he abused his children so much that it was even brought into court with Neil Magny when Neil Magny was going through his family disputes. And to me, that should be such a humbling moment for Ian Garry to be like, wow, I should really watch what I say to people. And a reporter asked him yesterday, do you regret what you were saying about Neil Magny and what you said to Neil Magny? And Ian Garry pretty much said, like, no, I can say whatever I want. It's my job to say whatever I want. But then at the same time, he draws these weird lines in the sand about what people are allowed to say about him and his family, as if Sean Strickland isn't someone that's in the exact same position, who is a fighter, who is just a weight class above him. Who knows what happens in the future? They could see each other squaring off. Why can't Sean Strickland say whatever he wants about other people's families? It's the exact same thing. And the excuse that Ian Garry uses of, well, it's my job to say these things. I mean, you could argue that there are social media content creators out there that do this as a full-time job, where it is their job to talk and rile up people's opinions and keep eyes on the sport. It's their job to do that. So that first thing that came out of his mouth was like, wow, you really haven't thought past this much more than just, I feel bad, I don't like, I can say what I want, make me feel happy, duh. That's sort of Ian Garry's level of thinking going into this, which means that he doesn't have nerves of steel at all. He is just delusional. He is living in his own world where he is the main character. So maybe it's not nerves of steel. Maybe it is just pure delusion. But I will say this, and what drove me to share this and bring this topic up is the fact that he is portraying an image of facing it head on. And in a way, he will have to face it head on. Now, it's sort of like in the media, he is getting given these softball questions, or the media is being very, very nice to him when everything that is happening behind the media, all the fans in the stands, there are very few people out there right now that are going to be cheering for Ian Garry. But when he's sitting there in the media room, they're all very nice to him. They're all asking him what name they should use, like they're asking somebody their pronouns. They're being super polite, overly polite. And I mean, why is that? It's because the media wants to keep their press room tag. They want to be able to keep rocking up and keep asking fighters questions. They want to keep having access to the UFC and their fighters. So you're not going to have any of the media offering a true representation of how the fans feel towards Ian Garry. Ian Garry's not going to get that until he actually walks out onto the stage at the press conference. And even then, all he's going to receive is a ton of booing at worst. Just a ton of booing. Who knows? There might be a chant go around the crowd of cuck, cuck, cuck. That would be just horrible if that were to happen. But he is not going to have to face any one-on-one accusations because there is not somebody there like a Colby Covington or like a Sean Strickland. Everyone up there is sort of just going to ignore Ian Garry and let him do his thing and let the media lob questions at him. He might get one or two questions from the audience that will come up with cheers, but really nothing that bad. The thing is, Ian Garry is going to have all of this stuff that has gone on in the background as he walks out and performs against Jeff Neal. And this is where the true nerves of steel will need to kick in for him, because Jeff Neal is super dangerous, has great power, and Ian Garry does get clipped up on the chin. And I don't know how many of Jeff Neal's shots Ian Garry is going to be able to take. For him to be able to perform the way that he needs to perform, to have that classic rangy Ian Garry, just controlling the distance and picking his shots for 15 minutes, he is going to need to be on point. And hopefully he's drilled himself in the gym so much that once he is in the cage, that becomes his own little mental church, his own little protective barrier, and he can just focus on the job at hand. Because if he loses this fight, with the amount of hypocritical, with the size of the hypocrite that he's been, whatever. The fact that he's been such a big hypocrite, turned off all the comments on his Instagram and his Twitter. If he walks out with a loss, he is just going to go straight into hiding for like 6 months. He's called out Colby Covington after this. He's called out Sean Strickland. He said Wonder Boy would be too scared to fight him. Wonder Boy just fought Shavkat Rakhmonov. I don't think Wonder Boy is scared to fight anybody in the world. Wonder Boy is a competitor. He will walk into that ring with rules and face them face to face. He's not scared of Ian Garry. But Ian Garry has laid out all these clear plans and defended his lifestyle so much that needs to come with a win. The last thing is, he talks about how he doesn't care what anybody says about him anymore. He doesn't care, which to me is sort of a double-sided coin, because he's also talked about how he thrives off the energy of the fans. So it's one of those weird things in the world where you do care when it's positive, but you don't care when it's negative. I think either way, you've sort of got to look at it like this is just a job, it's just a business, and you're looking at it from a performance-based outcome, like how well did I perform? If you're going to be someone that is so emotionally connected to the fans, then you cannot say that it's not going to affect you when such a loud part of the fan base is so negative towards you. And if you're turning off your comments and you're turning off your replies, then you must care. It must be getting to you. So I think him saying he doesn't care is just a way of him being like, I'm blocking it all out. I can't care about it. I think deep down he does care, which means he is going to be carrying that pressure somewhere inside him when he walks into the cage on the weekend. And I am very, very interested to see. I don't really care about Ian Garry either way. If he wins and keeps talking crap, I think it's great for MMA. I think there's so much content and so many eyes that can be drawn towards it. To me, it's very similar to when Jake Paul was just starting his influence of boxing. It's someone that you want to see in the cage for a good or a bad outcome. So if Ian Garry goes on to win, it's a good thing. If Ian Garry goes on to lose, it's also a bit of Schadenfreude, as the Germans like to say. It's also a bit funny to watch, isn't it, as well? Where someone that was so confident, comparing themselves to Conor McGregor, to go out and lose in such an embarrassing fashion. If that happens, I mean, either way, it's fine. I guess I care, but I'm not an Ian Garry fanboy. So whatever happens, I'm just going to be like, that was fun. I enjoyed that. That's the way that I'm going to look at this. So I guess the way to summarize this is Ian Garry seems to be such a self-aware fighter when it comes to his abilities in the cage, what he can't do, what he can do, what his weaknesses are, his career path, his trajectory, the way that fans are talking about him and how it drums up. Like he said that he is the most talked about fighter in the top 10 and he's not even a champion yet or in the top 5. Like look at the level of fame he's bringing to everyone. He seems to be extremely self-aware on one side, whereas on the other side, he is extremely hypocritical in the way that he treats other fighters and draws imaginary lines around himself that they're not allowed to cross. He is a man that is self-aware yet delusional at the same time. And is this something that he is bringing on purpose? Does he have nerves of steel to hold this all together? Or is the kid just mentally unhinged and a little bit bipolar perhaps? Let me know down in the comments. Ian Garry, mentally deranged or nerves of steel? If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It means so much to small creators like myself to see the channel build. And of course, I'll see you all in the next one.